So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I don't want to listen to that anymore. Let me turn this off because it's kind of, let me listen to more of this. So, anyway, let's have a little chat on the early morning. I've been thinking about some things that may be an unpopular view, but the occult sometimes is an unpopular view. That is why I call myself the occult view, because I don't look at things from a perspective of human influence. I look at things from a perspective of the occult, the spiritual, and that may not resonate or be understandable to certain people. For example, when people say, well, what makes you spiritual? How do you answer a question like that? There's really no way to answer something that is not tangible, that is not physical, and the spirit is not physical. There can be physical manifestations of it, but the spirit is not physical. So if a person asks, well, what makes you spiritual? I would respond to that. It's based upon my knowing and what I know. And what I know has nothing to do with what you know because we are all on our own individual spiritual paths. And I don't mean to sound arrogant or egotistical when I say that, but it's just the truth. So the conversation that we're getting ready to have is an unpolitically correct and it is an unpopular view. And that is why I really bask in calling myself the occult view. So, disclaimer, this may be triggering to some people, what we're getting ready to talk about, and it may upset you, but remember, it's not personal, it's spiritual. Here we go. You know, I want to say for the past few years, and this all must have been going on for a long time or forever, and now we're just seeing it, come to fruition more and more. But for the past few years, I've been seeing a trend among LGBT women. And I just have questions. This is not about being derogatory or disrespectful, but I have questions because I want to know what is the ritual behind it. I kind of already do, but I just need some clarity. Why would a woman transition into being a man? Let me simplify it. Why would a woman who's born a biological woman go through transition to be a man or turn herself into a man? That means getting her breast removed. I was going to say augmented, but removed. Taking hormones to grow hair and to have more masculine energy and features. But you still have a vagina, right? Why would a woman who wants to transition into being a man do that only so you could continue to sleep with men? And why would men who claim to be heterosexual, why would they want the image of someone who's taken on the image and the energy of a man? Yes, I know that the said woman still has a vagina, but why would you want to go through that process only to be with men? Because I thought, and maybe, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that women who went through that process did so to be with other women, to attract other women. But now I'm seeing a trend in different social media pockets where they think people are not looking, where a lot of, they call it FTM, female to male transitioned women, or women who transitioned into being men, are looking for men to have sex with. You will see ads of them saying, I'm looking to get dick down. I transitioned into being a man and I'm looking to get dick down. See, I don't understand the psychology, behind that. I don't. So that's why I'm asking questions. And I know the easy answer, for most people, especially straight people, would be, oh, it's just confusion. Is it though? Maybe it is, but is it? That's just like men who transition into being women. You get the breast, or even if you only dress up in cross dress. Because I cross dress sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. But if I cross dress, let me just be clear. Let me put the spotlight on me for a moment. When I cross dress, I'm doing that to attract masculine energies. Now, there's nothing wrong if you want to dibble and dabble with a woman every now and then if they know what you are and they know what you're about. I've done some things with women before. Nothing wrong with that. But why would you drastically change your entire essence to be with the opposite sex when the idea is to be with the same sex? Same thing with men who cross dress and who transition into women. Why would you do that only to be with other men who cross dress and who transitioned as well? To me, that just doesn't make it just doesn't make sense to me. Because if I'm going to put on women's clothing, put on wigs and lipstick and makeup, if I'm going to go through all of that, honey, I'm looking for a man. I'm not looking for another me. I'm looking for the opposite. You feel what I'm saying? And I know this all may sound a little convoluted, but I'm getting to a point. It's the same. I call it the Caitlyn Jenner effect. Because Caitlyn Jenner, from what I understand, transitioned into being a woman only to still date biological women. Now, I'm going to say something that's very controversial, and it may even be, it may be cutting my own throat saying this. But, back in the day, homosexuality was looked at as a mental illness. And I have to be honest. I have to be honest. And I know this may ruffle some feathers. But in the current state of everything that we're seeing in the LGBTQI community, were they wrong to label it as a mental illness? I'm just asking questions. I'm not speaking about anyone personally. I'm speaking about what we are seeing unfold in front of our eyes. Look at the whole situation that's going on with Netta and T.S. Madison. Look at what's going on with JoJo Siwa from Dance Moms. At one time, if you were gay, you were gay. If you were a lesbian, you were a lesbian. If you were bisexual, you were bisexual. If you were a drag queen, you were a drag queen. If you were trans, you were trans. But trans was defined. See, this is where I think things get a little lost in translation. Transsexual was someone, usually transsexuals had money back in the day. They came from a certain echelon. They had some money because they could afford to have the surgery to have their surgically, removed. They could afford that back in the day because they used to consider cross dressers and drag queens like low on the totem pole, compared to transsexuals, because transsexuals, they went through the entire um, transformation and process of turning themselves into a, a woman, not a biological woman, of course, but a woman. But now you have people who are still walking around with who call themselves women or females. And I know what people are going to say, that what's between your legs doesn't make you a woman. I know people are going to say that, and you're absolutely right. So let's have a conversation. If that does not make you a woman, then wouldn't you say that your energy makes you a woman? How you carry yourself makes you a woman. How you sound makes you a woman. Because I really don't think that looks make the woman or the biological female, whatever you want to call it. I think it's the essence. And when I look at so many of my brethren, I'm talking about my gay brethren, my some of my trans sisters, when I look at them, I don't see the essence of feminine energy. I see the essence of effeminate energy, and that's a difference. That's an imbalance. And I talked about that a couple of weeks ago when I met with some people at a speaking engagement. Yes, I do those too sometimes. I don't think that going through transformations, medical transformations, I don't think that that determines if you embody genuine, pure feminine energy or genuine, pure masculine energy. I think that it has caused a reverberation of instability within the LGBT community because I think on some levels we are being exploited. They are telling us if you do this and if you follow this guideline, you will have a better life. But they never talk about, and I'm just being honest, they never talk about the trans, excuse me, the men who transition into women. They don't talk about how some of those men have come back and said they regretted the transformation, how they regret it. They don't talk about those stories because that goes against whatever agenda that they have. I think one of the worst things, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think one of the worst things that we as gay people did is subscribe to the Hollywood doctrine and the world's doctrine of what a gay person is. Because see, we were trendsetters and we followed the beat of our own tune, no matter where that led us. I think that when we started really getting more and more connected to those energies in Hollywood, I think that was part of our downfall. The other part is we started caring what people thought about us. See, this is not about accepting or being accepted. I don't give a fuck who don't accept me. I don't give a fuck as long as you stay in your lane. Now, if you want to be aggressive, then we're going to deal with that. But I don't give a fuck about who accepts me and who doesn't. I wouldn't care if my mother didn't accept me. I wouldn't care if my family didn't accept me. As long as I accept me and the God within me accepts me, that's all that matters. And I think that we got on this train wreck of they have to accept us because we were told that people have to accept us. No, they don't. Because them not accepting us is where we found our strength. We are not here to be accepted. We're here to do our spiritual work. And I think that is where we went off trajectory. That is where we went off the rails when we started connecting with Hollywood and their agendas and started connecting with this ideology that people have to accept you. Newsflash, we didn't come down here to be accepted. We came down here to learn about rejection. We came down here to learn about people not, accepting us. Those were the hard lessons. See, when it comes to being gay, they only want to spotlight the types that are talking about the trade, the bag, the coin, chow, and doing, and yes, and the snapping, and they only want to um broadcast that part of being gay. The glitz and the glamour and all of that, which is all an illusion because there's a darker side, just like that show Tales from the Dark Side that used to come on years ago. Not Tales from the Crypt with the Crypt Keeper, no. Tales from the Dark Side. In the beginning of the show, they showed you how there was a light side to the world, but also a dark side to the world. They were talking about duality. And I have been on the darker side, meaning I have experienced the more heavier and the more darker aspects of being a gay person. And I'm sure there are plenty of gay people who've experienced that too. But Hollywood, social media, and politics, they want to give the impression that as long as we pass a bill, everything will be okay. Look what that gay person is doing in Hollywood. You can do it too. No, you can't. We made a big mistake getting up under the rituals of Hollywood, politics, and social media as gay people. We made a big mistake doing that. See, nobody wants to have these hard conversations. How gay people, the LGBT community, has been exploited and how we allowed ourselves to be exploited. Nobody wants to talk about those things because we only want to focus on the glitz, the glamour, and the false fake light. We don't want to focus on the breakdowns that some of us have. We don't want to focus on that. We don't want to talk about how some of us do have mental energies that we're dealing with. We don't want to talk about that because then that would humanize us. The very same people who claim that they're helping us, they're dehumanizing us. We're human like everybody else. So why should we be ashamed? And I may be veering off into another topic, but why should we be ashamed to say, hey, listen, I'm dealing with some things right now? Why should we be ashamed to talk about that? Oh, that's right, because we're going to get shamed and, they're going to say, well, it's because you're gay. No, it has nothing to do with the attraction to the same sex. A lot of it is our own self depraved and self reflecting mechanisms that we have of our own being and of our own self. I remember when I was in high school, I forgot his name, but there was, because I wasn't openly gay in high school. People suspected it, but I wasn't openly gay. That was something I never wanted to come out of the closet around those ignorant motherfucking niggas. I was already getting sexually harassed by some of the male students and the security guard. But there was a guy who I went to school with, and he was gay. I forgot his name. And I remember overhearing a conversation that he was having with some female students, and they were trying to encourage him and saying, "Hey, so and so, you got to go out, you got to get out there and make friends." He was like, "I don't have no friends. There are no friends to be made. Nobody likes me." And when I really think back on that, it really makes a lot of sense, you know? And I'm not saying that we should be depressed and unhappy. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we have to really look at reality of what's really happening. There is a lot of, I'm going to say, miscommunication and misinformation about who we are as people, as gay people, as trans people, bisexual people, whatever you want to call it. Because we're so busy looking for acceptance and we don't even accept ourselves. Fuck that acceptance bullshit. And that doesn't just go for gay people, that goes for straight people too. Fuck being accepted. Because most of the time, the people that accept you, it's at a price. There's a price for acceptance or admittance or to be accepted into something. There's always a price. When people accept you, there's always a price most of the time. But see, these are the hard conversations that, you know, nobody wants to have. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier when I said that homosexuality was once looked at as a mental illness. Well, I think that anything, it doesn't matter what the sexual orientation is. I think that anything that does not bring you joy, that does not bring you happiness, that does not bring you inner peace, I think that all of those things can be contributing factors in creating an instability or an unstable mindset. And I'm not talking about being attracted to the same sex. I'm talking about just the reflection of that in general and just how people feel about that in general. I think that is what, not giving no medical advice, but I think that is what causes possibly what they call the mental part of it. But when you look at the current state, I'm not talking about back in the day, but the current state of gay people, or whatever you want to call us, can we really deny that there's some mental going on? Not because they're gay. That's what I want to be clear of. Not because they're gay, but because of the rituals that they are up under. I mean, look at JoJo Siwa from Dance Moms. There was never any I watched that girl grow up. I used to look at Dance Moms. There was never any indication that she was going to be gay, number one. Number two, there's nothing wrong with her being gay. But look at how she's being exploited by the industry. Now I'm hearing that she might be transitioning into being a man, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But my question is, why would you do that in order to be with other men? So not only as gay, I'm not really, I'm just I'm not speaking about myself, per se, but I'm going to say we just to make it easier to understand. So as gay men, we're competing. I'm sorry, we're competing with other gay men. We're competing with trans women and everybody else. And now we have to compete with women who transition from being women into men because you want to be with other men sexually. And the men that sleep with them, I have to go back to that question. So does that mean that you're attracted to men? Even though they may have a vagina, but they have hair, they have beards, they look like men once they transition. See, these are the hard conversations that, nobody else is having. See, I'm a different type of gay. That's why I'm an occultist. And that's why I can't get this channel monetized because I talk about stuff like this because I have questions. Are we not supposed to have questions about stuff like this? We're just supposed to say, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Okay. See, to me, and I may be wrong for saying this, to me, the ritual is the mental illness, not the person. It's the ritual that's causing the mental. And this is all ritual. Like when I was at that speaking engagement a couple of weeks ago, the conversation came up about how in San Francisco they were paying certain trans people, I guess, to transition into trans people. I'm sorry, trans women, paying men to transition into trans women or just paying them for being trans women. And I don't have an issue with that. It's not an issue that I have with it, but I have questions because I'm an occultist. Who are those people that they're paying? Where do they come from and where did they come from? What type of ritual do they have them up under? Did they come out of institutions? I mean, these are just questions that I have as a gay man. I'm attracted to men. I'm attracted to men. I may have a little bi vibe to me. I could say that. I may have a little bi vibe to me, depending on the mood. But I have not altered my my appearance. Nothing wrong with if that's what you want to do. But I guess I just don't understand. I just don't understand why someone would alter their entire essence in order to be with the opposite sex. When the point in doing that is to attract the same sex. So if you're a woman who transitions into being a man, the assumption is that you would be interested in women, but you are having sex with men. And it really, I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell you something, women who are straight and heterosexual who deal with men, this is what's going on in the world that they're not talking about. If you could only see the things that I see, and there's no judgment, let me be clear, there's no judgment. It's just questions that I'm having. I have questions. That's it. Because back in the day, you would never hear, for the most part, about lesbians and masculine women, or what they would call studs. You would never hear them talking about having sex with no men like that. They may have done that before they decided to be who they decided to be. But now you're seeing more and more masculine women, especially the ones who are transitioning into men. You're seeing more and more of them wanting to have sex with men. And they're walking around with hair on their face, hair on their chest, and men actually want to be with them. But if you want to be with them and you're going based upon how they look, doesn't that mean that he's attracted to masculine energy? And do you see how that type of energy can breed a certain amount of convoluted energies? Can you see how that can breed convoluted energies and make things a little difficult to understand? That's just like when I used to hear, and see, the thing is this, too. If you are a person who's just in your own lane, you don't have to do a whole bunch of extra dramatics, they get mad at you. I remember back when I was in my early 20s, men did not accept me just being me. They didn't accept me for just being me. They always wanted you to, it used to be in the early 2000s. Let me tell you how times have changed. It used to be in the early 2000s when you wanted to mess around with a man and you were a gay guy, you would have to cross dress. Because back then, most men wanted someone who cross dressed, put on a wig, put on lipstick, put on a dress. That's what they wanted back then. Then, as time evolved, oh, you had to be a transgender person. That means you had to have breasts. Because I'm chubby, I got some breasts, so I kind of got past that child. You had to have some breast. And I'm not a hairy person. That's kind of why I passed that as well. You had to have breasts. You had to live 24 hours a day as a woman in order for men to respect you or to even want anything to do with you. But now it's gone to a new level. So now they changed the game again. So now men want you to be, it's okay if you look like a man. It's okay if you have a beard and, no breast. Now they want you to have a vagina, but they want you to look like a man on the outside. There are men requesting this too. So they don't mind that you look like a man as long as you have a vagina. That's where we're at now. This is what causes the mental part. One ritual after another. This is ritual because it's not about accepting people for who they are. It's not about accepting yourself for who you are. And I fell under the ritual too because I started cross-dressing when I was in my early 20s. I don't do it as much now because I feel like if you don't like me for me, then fuck you. That's how I feel now. I got from up under that ritual. If you don't like me for me, fuck you. Now, if I want to have a little fun and I'm in the mood, then I do what I want to do. But what I am seeing is people under ritual. So it went from you have to cross-dress, then to, well, no, I prefer you have to be a transsexual or a transgender person who lives 24 hours a day as a woman. Then now it's, okay, you can look like a man. You can have a beard and hair on your chest as long as you have a vagina. Can someone make this make sense to me? What are we doing here? And then if you don't meet those criterias, they will degrade you, they will dehumanize you, and they will treat you like you ain't shit. That's what the men did to me. You just a man in a wig. You ain't no transsexual. You ain't no transgender person. But now, the very things they're saying to me, now they're saying that about transsexuals and transgender people. They didn't used to say that at first. And then a lot of these men, they bring all of those energies to a woman who is just a female, a biological female who is not who's into men, has not altered her essence. They bring all of those energies to you. This is the occult view. I just felt like having this conversation about, and I think that what motivated me to have this conversation, surprisingly, is the controversy and the beef that's taking place between T.S. Madison and Mrs. Netta and Tasha K. And I talked about that yesterday. I think that is what really kind of inspired me to talk about this. Not in a way to judge people or to put people down. People can do what they want to do. But I just have questions. I just have questions. And before I go, should social media influencers be labeled as, or how can I put this? Should social media influencing be labeled as a dangerous trend or a danger to vulnerable people? I'm just asking questions because these are the conversations that, again, nobody wants to have because people are afraid of being ostracized. I don't give a fuck about being ostracized. I've been ostracized most of my life by my family, by family, friends, community, ex-boyfriends, whatever. I've been ostracized all my life. So I don't give a fuck about being ostracized because I don't give a fuck what people think about me. And I think that as gay people, when we started giving a fuck what people thought about us, that is when we veered off into this weird path that we're on now. And then we got connected with that Hollywood shit. You saw what they did to June Mack, and I'm going to repeat that. Where is Laverne Cox? Where's Angelica Ross? And you know why I have a lot of respect for Angelica Ross. I wasn't really much a fan of her acting, but I have a lot of respect. That's a trans woman. I have a lot of respect for Angelica Ross. You know why? Because she was dating a guy, and the guy wanted her to pretend that she was a biological female, and she told him no, and she dumped him. I have a lot of respect for her because she wanted to live in her truth. Anyway, this is the occult view. And I just, I felt like having this conversation. Thank you.